He fired me on a Tuesday. Said I had a poor attitude and was holding the team back. Escorted me out by security in front of 30 employees. What he didn't know, 3 years ago, when the company was failing and couldn't afford IT services, I personally purchased their domain, hosting, and entire digital infrastructure. Everything was in my name. My credit card. My personal accounts. The next morning, renewal invoices hit my inbox. Their website would go offline in 7 days unless I renewed it. I had a choice to make. Here's what happened when I chose honesty over revenge and still watched him destroy himself. My name is Sienna Voss. And this is the story of how documentation and integrity beat a bully who thought firing me would make his problems disappear. 3 years ago, I was 29, hired as employee number 4 at Elevation Marketing, a scrappy startup in Portland helping local businesses with digital strategy. The founder was Camden Pierce. 35, former agency creative director, charismatic, big ideas, zero execution skills. When I interviewed, the office was Camden's converted garage. 2 folding tables. Spotty Wi-Fi. A dream and no infrastructure. He offered me $45,000 as marketing operations manager. Low salary, but 2% equity. We're building something. Get in early, grow with us. I believed him. My first week, I asked about our tech setup. We need a website. Client portal. Email system. CRM. Can you handle that? That's usually IT's job. We don't have IT. We don't have budget for IT. Your operations. Make it work. So I did. I researched platforms. Compared vendors. Built spreadsheets. Then I got the invoices, domain registration, $15 per year, hosting, $120 per month, email service, $50 per month, CRM, $80 per month. I submitted expense reports. Camden denied them. Cash flow is tight. Can this wait? We need a domain to have a website. We need a website to get clients. I know. Just give me a month. A month became 2. Then 3. We were operating on free trials and borrowed tools. Looked completely unprofessional. Finally, I made a decision. I put it on my personal credit card. Registered the domain, elevationmarketing.com. Set up hosting. Email. CRM. Built the website myself over a weekend. Monday morning, I showed Camden. We're live. Professional site, working email, client portal. I covered the setup costs, just reimburse me when cash flow improves. He was thrilled. Sienna, this is amazing. Absolutely, I'll reimburse you. Thank you for being a team player. I submitted the expense report, $1,847 for setup and first 3 months. He approved it. It never got paid. Over the next year, Elevation grew. Camden hired 8 more people. We moved into a real office. Landed 40 clients. Hit $800,000 in annual revenue. I kept asking about the reimbursement. Soon, Camden always said. Cash flow is still tight. You understand. Meanwhile, I kept paying the bills monthly. $190 out of my own pocket. After 6 months, I'd spend over $1,200. I stopped asking. But I kept paying. Because if I didn't, the website would go down, emails would stop, and the company would collapse. And I'd be the one who killed it. But here's what I didn't fully understand at the time. When you register a domain in your name, you don't just own a website address. You own the company's entire digital identity. Their website. Their email system. Their client portal. Everything clients use to reach them. Everything employees use to work. If that domain expires, the company doesn't just lose their website. They disappear from the internet completely. Every employee email address? Gone. Client portal? Error page. Website? Vanished from Google. 40 clients with no way to reach the company. And I was the only person who could renew it. The domain renewal, hosting, email services, all in my name. My credit card. My personal accounts. Camden didn't know. He assumed IT was handled. Never asked who was paying. And I never told him. What I should have done, transferred everything to company accounts once we were stable. What I actually did, kept paying, kept the infrastructure running, and told myself I'd deal with it later. I didn't. Year 2, Camden hired Vaughn Ashford as Director of Operations. 38, former corporate operations manager, MBA from a mid-tier school, talked constantly about process optimization and operational excellence. Camden was impressed. Vaughn's going to professionalize our operations. Take us to the next level. I reported to Vaughn now. First day, he called me in. Sienna, walk me through your responsibilities. I did. Client onboarding. Project management. Vendor coordination. Website maintenance. Email administration. He frowned. You're doing too many things. Operations should be streamlined, specialized. We need to restructure. Okay. What did you have in mind? I'm going to handle vendor relationships and system administration. You focus on client onboarding and project coordination. System administration? Like the website and? I'll take it from here. I have experience managing enterprise infrastructure. This is more my wheelhouse. Sure. Just so you know, the domain and hosting are currently registered under my personal accounts. We should transfer those to company. I'll handle it, he interrupted. Just send me the login credentials. I sent him admin access to the website CMS and email platform. But the domain registration and hosting accounts? Those were still mine. Because he never asked for them specifically. And I didn't volunteer the information. I told myself I'd bring it up later. I didn't. Over the next year, things got worse. Vaughn started criticizing my work in team meetings. Sienna's client onboarding is inefficient. I'm seeing gaps in documentation. Sienna missed a deadline last week. We need more accountability. None of it was true. I hit every deadline. My client satisfaction scores were 95% plus. But Vaughn was building a narrative. He also started taking credit for things I did. I'd solve a client crisis, he'd tell Camden he personally intervened. I'd streamline a workflow, he'd present it as operational improvements I implemented. Camden believed him. Vaughn had the title, the MBA, the corporate experience. I was just the early employee from the garage days. One afternoon, a month before I was fired, I was walking past the conference room. The door was cracked. Vaughn and Camden were inside. I heard Vaughn's voice. Honestly, Camden, Sienna's a liability at this point. She's stuck in startup mode, can't adapt to professional operations. I think we need to consider whether she's the right fit long-term. Camden, she's been here since the beginning. She helped build this place. Exactly. She's attached to the old days. But we're not a garage startup anymore. We need people who can scale. Sienna can't. She's holding us back. I stood there, frozen. I was holding them back. The person who'd built their website. Set up their infrastructure. Paid for it out of pocket for 3 years. That's when I knew Vaughn wasn't just taking credit. He was positioning himself to push me out. And Camden was going to let him. In my Year 3 review, Vaughn rated me to needs improvement. Sienna struggles with strategic thinking and requires significant oversight. Recommend performance improvement plan. My raise, 1.5%. I requested a meeting with Camden. This review doesn't reflect my actual performance. My client scores are. Sienna, I trust Vaughn's assessment. He has more operational expertise. If he says you need improvement, let's take that seriously. He's taking credit for my work. That's a serious accusation. Do you have evidence? I didn't. I hadn't been documenting. I think there's a misunderstanding about my contributions. Camden sighed. I appreciate everything you did in the early days. But we're a real company now. We need people who can scale. If you're struggling to adapt, maybe this isn't the right fit. Are you saying you want me to leave? I'm saying you need to decide if you can meet Vaughn's expectations. Because right now, you're not. 2 months later. Tuesday morning, 9:47 a.m. Vaughn called me into the conference room. Camden was there. So was Petra from HR. Sienna, sit down. I sat. Vaughn slid a folder across. We're terminating your employment effective immediately. My stomach dropped. Based on continued performance issues and failure to meet expectations outlined in your improvement plan, we've decided to part ways. I've met every expectation. Your attitude right now is exactly the problem, Vaughn interrupted. Inability to accept feedback. Lack of ownership. This is why we're making this decision. Camden said nothing. Just looked uncomfortable. You'll receive 2 weeks severance. Petra will walk you through paperwork. We need your laptop, badge, and keys now. I was shaking. Can I at least get my personal items? Security will pack them and ship them. We need you off premises immediately. Security escorted me out. Through the office. Past 30 employees who watched in silence. Out the front door. Into the parking lot. I sat in my car for an hour. Couldn't turn the key. Couldn't drive. Just stared at the steering wheel. They'd fired me in front of 30 people. Escorted me out by security like I'd stolen something. After 3 years of keeping that company alive. After paying $7,200 out of my own pocket so they could have a website. After working weekends, skipping vacations, believing Camden when he said, "We're building something together." I called my best friend. Told her what happened. Sue them, she said. Or let the website crash. They deserve it. And for about 10 seconds, I considered it. I imagined the domain expiring. The website showing an error page. Vaughn panicking. Camden realizing I'd been the one holding everything together. It would be so easy. But then I thought about the 15 employees who hadn't done anything wrong. The clients who trusted Elevation. The company I'd helped build from nothing. And I realized I could destroy them. But I'm not that person. I drove home in a daze. Spent the rest of the day on the couch, staring at nothing. That night, going through my email, I saw it. Subject, Domain Renewal Notice, elevationmarketing.com. From, Domain Registrar. Your domain elevationmarketing.com is set to expire in 7 days. Renew now to avoid service interruption. Renewal cost, $15. I stared at it. Then checked my hosting account. Same thing. Renewal due in 14 days. $120 per month. Email service. CRM platform. Analytics tools. All registered to my personal accounts. All paid by my credit card. All about to expire. I pulled up our client list. 40 active clients. All of them communicated with Elevation through email protected at client portal at elevationmarketing.com/portal project management system hosted on our domain. If the domain expired, every company email address would stop working. The client portal would show an error page. The website would disappear from Google. 40 clients would have no way to reach Elevation. The company wouldn't just lose their website. They'd lose the ability to do business entirely. And it would happen automatically in 7 days if I did nothing. I pulled up my records. Over 3 years, I'd spent $7,200 of my own money keeping Elevation's infrastructure running. Never reimbursed. And they just fired me. I sat there for 2 hours, staring at my laptop. Pulled up the domain renewal page. There was a button, Cancel Auto Renewal. 1 click. That's all it would take. The domain would expire March 15th, website gone. Emails dead. Client portal offline. Vaughn would panic. Camden would scramble. And they'd have no way to fix it because they didn't even know I owned it. My cursor hovered over that button. I sat there for 5 minutes. Just staring. Thinking about Vaughn calling me incompetent. About Camden not fighting for me. About being escorted out by security. 1 click. I closed the browser. And I opened my email instead. Subject, Urgent, Critical Infrastructure Issue. Camden. I'm writing to inform you of a critical issue requiring immediate attention. When Elevation was first starting and didn't have budget for IT infrastructure, I personally purchased and set up the company's domain, elevationmarketing.com, hosting, email system, and several other critical services. These were registered under my personal accounts because the company couldn't afford them at the time. I submitted expense reports for reimbursement, which were approved but never paid. Over the past 3 years, I've continued paying these bills out of pocket, approximately $7,200 total. I'm attaching all receipts and expense reports showing these charges. The domain is set to expire in 7 days, March 15th. Hosting expires in 14 days. If these services lapse, your website will go offline, all company emails will stop working, and your client portal will be inaccessible. Despite my termination today, I want to handle this professionally. I'm willing to transfer all accounts to the company, but this needs to happen immediately to avoid service disruption. I'm also requesting reimbursement for the $7,200 I paid over 3 years, which represents legitimate business expenses I covered personally. Please advise how you'd like to proceed. Time is critical. Best. Sienna Voss. Attachments, 27 receipts, 14 expense reports, domain/hosting account screenshots. I sent it at 8:34 p.m. Then sat back and waited. After I sent it, I stared at my laptop. Had I just made a huge mistake? What if they refused to pay? What if they sued me? What if they somehow found a way to take the domain without reimbursing me? What if I was about to lose $7,200 and have no leverage? But then I pulled up the domain registration. Owner, Sienna Voss. Registrant email, my personal email. Payment method, my personal credit card. It was mine. Legally, clearly, undeniably mine. They could threaten. They could posture. But they couldn't take it without my permission. And they had 6 days to figure that out. Next morning, 6:47 a.m., my phone rang. Camden. I didn't answer. He called again at 7:02. 7:15, 7:23. Left 3 voicemails, each more frantic. At 8:10, he emailed. Sienna, we need to talk immediately. Please call me. This is urgent. I replied at 9:30 a.m. Camden, everything you need to know is in my email from last night. I'm happy to discuss transfer logistics, but I'm not available by phone. Please respond in writing. At 10:15, he replied. Sienna, I had no idea you were personally paying for these services. This is a huge oversight on our part. Can we meet today to discuss transfer and reimbursement? I'm available via email only. At 11 o'clock. We're prepared to reimburse you the full $7,200 immediately. Can you extend the domain renewal for 30 days while we set up company accounts to transfer everything to? I sat there reading that email. He had no idea I'd been paying for 3 years. Vaughn had taken over the system administration and never bothered to check who actually owned the accounts. They'd fired me thinking I was replaceable. And now their entire company was going to collapse in 6 days unless I helped them. I replied. Camden, I'm willing to facilitate a smooth transition, but I need a few things in writing first. 1. Immediate payment of $7,200 reimbursement, wire transfer, not check. 2. Signed agreement acknowledging these were legitimate business expenses I covered. 3. Formal apology for the termination and acknowledgement it was based on inaccurate performance assessments. 4. Revision of my personnel file to reflect layoff rather than a termination for cause. 5. 3 months severance, not 2 weeks. Once I have these in writing and the wire transfer confirmed, I'll work with you on the transition. The domain expires in 6 days. I suggest we move quickly. Camden called an emergency meeting with Petra and the company's lawyer. At 2:17 p.m., formal response. Sienna. After consultation with our legal counsel, we agree to your terms with one modification. We'll provide 2 months severance instead of 3. We're prepared to wire the $7,200 reimbursement today. We'll have the separation agreement revised and written acknowledgement prepared by end of business tomorrow. Please confirm you'll renew the domain and maintain services while we complete the transition. Camden. I replied. 3 months severance or I let the domain expire. This is non-negotiable. You have 6 days before the website goes offline. I suggest you decide quickly. At 6:15 p.m., I got another email. From Vaughn, not Camden. Subject, professional conduct concern. Sienna. I understand you're upset about your termination, but using company infrastructure as leverage is unprofessional and potentially illegal. The domain and services belong to Elevation Marketing regardless of whose credit card paid for them. I strongly advise you to transfer everything immediately to avoid legal action for extortion and breach of fiduciary duty. Vaughn Ashford, Director of Operations. I stared at that email for a full minute. Extortion. Breach of fiduciary duty. He was threatening me. The man who'd stolen credit for my work, gotten me fired, and never bothered to check who actually owned the infrastructure he claimed to manage. I forwarded his email to Camden with one line. Camden, I suggest you consult with your lawyer before Vaughn makes this situation worse. The domain is registered in my personal name. I paid for it with my personal credit card for 3 years. Your company has zero legal claim to assets I personally own. However, I'm still willing to facilitate a professional transfer, assuming Vaughn stops sending threatening emails and you meet the terms I outlined. You have 5 days before the domain expires. 2 hours later, Camden replied. Sienna, please disregard Vaughn's email. He was acting without authorization. We're prepared to meet all your terms. Can we finalize this tomorrow? At 4:45 p.m. the next day. Agreed. 3 months severance. We'll have everything ready tomorrow morning. Please renew the domain today to avoid any risk of expiration. I replied. Asterisk, I'll renew the domain once I receive. Wire transfer confirmation $4.7, 200 signed separation agreement with revised terms written acknowledgement and apology asterisk. I'm not moving forward until I have everything in writing and payment confirmed. You have 5 days. I wasn't bluffing. If they didn't meet my terms, I'd let it expire. Not out of revenge. Out of principle. They'd fired me unfairly. They owed me money. I was done being nice. Next morning, 8:34 a.m., wire transfer hit my account, $7,200. 9:15 a.m., email from their lawyer with attached documents. Revised separation agreement, 3 months severance, position elimination, instead of a termination for cause, signed acknowledgement that I had paid $7,200 in legitimate business expenses that should have been reimbursed letter from Camden. Sienna. I want to personally apologize for the circumstances of your departure. Upon review, it's clear that your termination was based on inaccurate performance assessments and didn't reflect your actual contributions to elevation. Your work in the early days was instrumental in building this company's foundation, and I deeply regret that we failed to recognize that appropriately. I also apologize for the oversight regarding the infrastructure expenses you covered. That should never have been your responsibility. I wish you the best in your future endeavors. Camden Pierce. I read it 3 times. Then I renewed the domain. Paid the hosting bill. Extended all services for 90 days. And I began the transfer process. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked with their new IT contractor to migrate everything to company-owned accounts. Transferred domain registration. Moved hosting to their corporate account. Migrated email services. Handed over all admin credentials. I documented every step. Sent detailed instructions. Made sure nothing would break. Because despite everything, I wasn't going to sabotage 15 innocent employees and 40 clients who'd done nothing wrong. On March 28, I sent the final handoff email. Camden. All infrastructure has been successfully transferred to Elevation Marketing's corporate accounts. Domain, hosting, email, CRM, and all other services are now under your control. I've attached complete documentation of the transfer process and all current service agreements. This concludes my involvement with Elevation Marketing. Best of luck. Sienna. That was 9 months ago. I used the severance and reimbursement to take a month off. First real break I'd had in 3 years. Then I started freelancing. Reached out to some clients I'd worked with at Elevation. Offered digital strategy consulting. Within 3 months, I had 6 clients and was making more than my Elevation salary. Within 6 months, I'd hired 2 contractors to help with overflow. Last month, I incorporated Voss Digital Strategy. Yesterday, I signed a $45,000 contract with a client Elevation had pitched to and lost. They chose me specifically because the work you did at Elevation was impressive and we'd rather work with you directly. I'm 32. Running my own company. Making 60% more than I did at Elevation. Working from home in sweatpants. No Vaughn. No Camden. No toxic workplace. And every single one of my clients knows exactly who does the work. Because my name is on everything. 3 months after I left, I got a LinkedIn message from Dev, one of the designers who'd been there when I got fired. Sienna, I don't know if you've heard, but things have completely fallen apart here. Half the team quit after you left. Vaughn got fired last month, turns out he'd been falsifying client reports and blaming other people for his mistakes. Camden's trying to rebuild, but we just lost our 3 biggest clients. I'm putting in my notice next week. Just wanted you to know, everyone realizes now that you were the one holding this place together. I'm sorry we didn't say anything when they fired you. I didn't reply right away. Just sat there reading it. A month later, I saw Elevation's LinkedIn. They'd posted a job listing, Operations Manager, Urgent Hire. The description was basically my old job. All the responsibilities I'd had. The systems I'd built. They were trying to replace me. They never did. Last I checked, they're down to 6 employees. Camden's still there, struggling to keep it alive. The company I helped build from a garage is slowly dying. Not because I sabotaged it. Because they pushed out the person who actually knew how to run it. Here's what I learned. When you're at a startup and they can't afford something critical, don't put it on your personal credit card, even temporarily. If you do, document everything. Keep receipts. Send expense reports. Get reimbursement timelines in writing. And if they fire you unfairly, don't let anger make you do something you'll regret. I could have let that domain expire. I could have destroyed Elevation out of spite. And part of me wanted to. Part of me wanted to watch Vaughn panic when the website went down. Wanted to see Camden realize he'd fired the one person who'd been holding the infrastructure together. But I didn't. Because revenge isn't worth becoming someone you're not. Instead, I used the leverage I had to get what I deserved, reimbursement, proper severance, and a corrected record. I negotiated from a position of strength. I got everything in writing. And I handed off the infrastructure professionally because 15 employees and 40 clients didn't deserve to suffer for Vaughn's incompetence and Camden's negligence. That's not weakness. That's integrity. And integrity has a way of paying off. The startup that fired me for poor performance is half the size it used to be. The director who called me incompetent got fired himself 4 months later. The founder who didn't fight for me is struggling to rebuild what he lost. And me? I'm running my own company, working with clients who respect me, making more money than I ever did working for someone else. I didn't destroy Elevation. But I also didn't save it. I just stepped aside and let the truth handle the rest. So if you're ever in a position where you have leverage over someone who wronged you, don't burn bridges out of anger. But don't be a doormat either. Use your leverage to get what you're owed, in writing, with receipts, with witnesses. And then walk away with your integrity intact. Because here's the thing about people like Vaughn and companies like Elevation. They don't fail because you sabotage them. They fail because they push out the people who actually know what they're doing. They fail because they value titles over competence, corporate speak over results, politics over performance. I didn't need to destroy Elevation. They were already destroying themselves. I just refused to go down with them. Some victories aren't loud. They're a wire transfer hitting your account. A separation agreement that clears your record. A professional handoff that proves you were the competent one all along. And 6 months later, a thriving business that shows everyone who doubted you exactly what you were capable of. My name is Sienna Voss. My boss fired me for poor performance. He didn't realize I controlled the entire company website. I could have let it expire. Could have watched them collapse. Could have gotten revenge. Instead, I negotiated. Documented. Got what I was owed. And walked away clean. 6 months later, they're half the size they were. Not because I destroyed them. Because I stopped holding them up. Sometimes the best revenge isn't burning bridges. It's crossing them professionally. And watching from the other side as they realize they just lost the only person who knew where the foundation was. If this story resonated, if you've been fired unfairly, undervalued, or pushed out by someone incompetent, subscribe. Because the best revenge isn't burning everything down. It's building something better and watching them realize what they lost. Document everything. Know your worth. Negotiate from strength. And never let anyone make you compromise your integrity. Not even when they deserve it.